Hi there, today's book is One Last Secret by Adele Parks. So in this book we're introduced to Theodora, or Dora. She is an escort. So she has a close friend. His name is Evan. He's younger than her. And they have had a completely platonic relationship for a few years. She had met him at a party that she attended, and he is a rich, pretty much trust fund baby. But, they talked, and he treated her, as a normal person and not like talking down to her, making her feel less than because of her profession. And so they have had a good relationship. He would come over and spend time with her at her house. He had a key to her place. And so, they have a good friendship. And she says for some reason they never really had crossed that line. But anyway, there was one day that she went on this assignment, and, the way it's set up is that she has a person that fills all the appointments and ensure the payments, and there's rules. So kind of like a madam in a sense, but it's not like, it's more business-like and professional in a sense, because this is a high-quality escort type of thing. So anyway, so this person had an appointment with her. They went to the hotel to meet, and she noticed that this man had on a mask, but it was around... She figured that, with COVID, that might be a good thing and all that. And so things quickly got out of hand. It wasn't like the normal appointment. And so she ended up being assaulted really badly. She was hurt. And at the end of it, she had black eyes. She was in a whole lot of pain. She thought potentially that maybe she had a concussion, but she really didn't want to go to the... She did go to the hospital, but she didn't have that. But she didn't really tell them the whole story. She just said that she fell down the stairs, but of course they didn't believe her. And, she didn't want to get into this whole profession thing. She felt like the police wouldn't believe her anyway because of her profession and all that. She didn't really have much to give anyway because she didn't see the guy's face. And I know when her madam, I can't remember what her name was. Anyway, I'm going to call her madam. When she called the number, she couldn't really trace back the person, which is, kind of weird and scary. But what the person said was she needs to stop, or the next time next time she's going to kill her, she's going to kill him. He's going to kill her, or something to that effect. Like, if she does this again, like, he threatened that she needs to stop what she's doing. And so that was scary for her. And she felt like, okay, this guy is gone, and she's not worried about that. After this happened, when Evan came over, saw her battered and bruised, he was really worried about her. And it was in this moment that Evan realized that he really liked her and he didn't want something bad to happen to her, and he wanted to marry her. He asked her out the blue, he said that they should get married, and she thought about it, especially with this whole thing that happened. She figured like she needs to get out of that anyway, just, and she knows him. He's the person who knows her the best, and he's rich. So it's not like she was going to have a change, a decrease in her lifestyle or, anything like that. So she took the opportunity, and she's like, okay. And, they talked about it. It's an unconventional start to a relationship. He knows exactly what she does, her whole history and all that, and he never judged her. So she felt like, they could have something. And so she accepted that. So Evan was going away on a business trip, and he wanted her to come, but she didn't really want to go. So she convinced him that she was going to do something with the wedding, and so he was okay with her staying back. Anyway, so when she stayed back, she had gotten a call from one of her prior clients, and her madam had given the number, and we find out that this person had name dropped in order to get her number. And they usually don't get direct numbers to the escorts just for their safety. But anyway, she knew the guy, And she wasn't going to pick up the phone, but she ended up doing so because she thought it could possibly be Evan calling from overseas. Anyway, she picks up this phone, and it's a call from this guy named Daniel, a client of hers. And he said that he's got to go to France for some event, for some rich folks, of course. And he really needed a companion, and he begged and pleaded. There's some girl named Cece that he liked, and he really wanted to like have somebody in his arms so he doesn't look so pathetic, because I guess he couldn't get anywhere with Cece. So he really wanted some companionship to go to this event. She didn't really want to go, but he I guess made her feel really bad for him, and so she decided to go. She took the assignment, but she did let him know that there won't be any sex involved. She's engaged now. She didn't even want to do it to begin with, but she would go with him just because she felt bad for him. Anyway, so she did end up going on the trip, and he paid for everything, and she got her own ticket. She was wise in not letting him pay for her ticket, because then he would have to have her personal information. So she bought this all by herself. She got paid, reimbursed and all that, and paid for the assignment. So she gets there. They drive. It's a remote area, but there's this huge, it's a huge house, like what do they call it? A villa, kind of. And there were a bunch of other people there. Apparently they were going there for some party for this guy's promotion. So they meet the people who are supposed to be the hosts and the owners. And the guy and the wife, I think the guy's name was Giles, and I can't remember his wife's name. But anyway, there were a bunch of other friends there, apparently. And so she met this guy there whose name was Jonathan, and she felt like this was the guy who had beat her up in the hotel, just from the voice. And so she decided that she wanted to leave. And Daniel said that he would call her an Uber. It was going to be for a couple hours. And so he decides, she decides that she was going to take a nap or something like that. And I think she ended up drinking something from him. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't drink that. And what do you know? She wakes up and it's dark. She's in the bed. And of course, she wanted to leave. She was frantic. And he was like, oh, well, you must have been tired and you were sleepy and I didn't want to wake you up. So she didn't end up leaving that day. And so he talked her into staying and feeling bad for her. So she stayed. But, there were things that happened throughout this trip that she doesn't remember happening. And she's wondering, did she have a concussion from that beating, that assault that happened in the hotel, or what's really going on? So, because she's thinking this happened, Daniel is telling her something else happened. And there were other things that happened while she was on this assignment that weren't really coming together. She doesn't remember it, or they're telling her something else. One day that, everybody went out into town and she woke up, everybody was gone. And what do you know? It's just her and Jonathan there. And so she's trying not to be scared of him. And he seemed kind of nice, although it's kind of fake nice. And he was going to give her a tour of the place. And so they had some grottos there, or some cave kind of thing. And, they have this massive maze kind of thing that's made from shrubs. You ever seen those in those big palatial homes in the south of France? They have this exquisite and elaborate landscaping. So it's one of those things, kind of maze-ish like. And so she was scared of him, and he grabbed her in the maze, and the conversation was really weird, alluding to her profession. And he's asking like personal questions related to her profession. Of course, she's an escort, so it's kind of like not the normal conversation that you would have with somebody. So she was kind of trying not to be scared, but she was scared of him. And, she ended up trying to get away from him in the maze, and she's running here, running there, and finally made it out. And so when she got out the maze, then there was another couple who was there who was saying we've been looking for you. And so then at one point she was told that they were looking for this dog that belongs to one of the couples. And she didn't know where the dog was, but they claimed that she had said that she was going to watch the dog, and now the dog is not there. She doesn't remember this. And so she's wondering, like, what is really going on? Anyway, so she ended up having to stay. And meanwhile, the client that hired her, Daniel, was like getting kind of upset at her because he feels like, you know, she's embarrassing him and she's not acting the way she should. And it seems like she's forgetting stuff. And he's like, what's wrong with you? I wish I didn't ask you to come and blah, blah, blah. So when he finally decides, like, you know what, you're more trouble than you're worth. You can leave tomorrow. There's these flights open, and, you know, he let her know, and she decides, okay, she's going to leave tomorrow. So the night before, they were having some dinner, and they ended up having a lot of drinks and whatnot. They played Truth or Dare and all this stuff, and they wanted to jump into the pool at night. She decides she's not going to want to do that. And the next day, then she woke up, things happened, and then Daniel comes with a video that he was really pissed at her this time now, because it's a video of, you know, activities with her and the host. And of course, we know the host is married, and she's like, I don't remember this. I didn't do this or whatever. But then when the video, she couldn't like dispute it. But then she's like, what happened? I don't remember this, you know? And so of course he's mad at her, but she's glad that she's going to leave the rest of the house. The guests in the house, she encountered Cece and another one of the couples. And they were kind of like, you know, good riddance. You need to go because you're more trouble than you're worth. Because, of course, this video was sent to everybody in the house, but she doesn't know who sent it, you know, so that's another mystery as well. So this whole vacation just turned into a house of horrors for her, because she finds out that somebody is behind all this stuff that's happening to her. Because when she was finally able to leave, she's supposed to be getting a taxi, and she was going down the road to meet the taxi because she didn't want to wait. She goes and she's walking, and the nearest house she goes to is like a farm. So the farmer was supposed to call her a cab, and she was so excited when the taxi finally came, and she jumped in the taxi with her things, and she's ready to go, and she jumped in without looking and throws her stuff in. And when she finally looked up, she realized that the taxi is not a taxi. And it's somebody that it was, how do I say this without giving it away? Anyway, somebody that she knows and she's scared of. And this person wants her to go away. And he's saying that it's because of his client. She doesn't know who this client is. So anyway, she didn't agree to whatever it was. And while they're on this drive, he offers her some sandwiches that he claimed that his wife made. I don't know why she took this. I'm like, no. Anyway, she, I guess, had some food from him. And what do you know? She woke up later on and she was throwing up, and she realized that she had been drugged. And of course, she didn't end up going to the airport. She was taken back to the house. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I felt so bad for her. So now she's back at the house, and she has an egg allergy. So that was being used in a very egregious way while they're waiting for this client. So this client is supposed to come, and then she realized who's really behind all of this. And it is somebody from her past that she is trying to make a connection as to why this person hates her so bad, and why does this person coming into her life now to torture her. So at this point, then when she finds out who this person is, we kind of get a glimpse into her past and as to how her life intersected with this guy. And we also, towards the end of the book, find out that this person has a connection to Evan, which it didn't seem that Evan didn't know about the connection that Theodora, her name as an escort was Valentina. So Theodora, Valentina, he didn't know that these two people know each other. And so at this point there's a point where he arrives at this villa because they have a connection. And she was like, what are you doing here? And then she finds out, the connection between the two, and she is horrified. Now that he finds out about all the stuff that's been happening at the villa, she's worried that he's not going to believe her and all that. So now her relationship is in jeopardy. And this person is very powerful. So she's worried that whether he's going to side with her or what's going to happen. She's fearing for her life. It was a lot. It was a lot in this book, but it was really good. But after this happens, now there's another twist that happened with the two of them, that they have, I guess, some solidarity in what happens after that, because they have to keep each other's secret, and something horrific happens. But what happens then was able to free them from the secret that they were keeping in their life. And it was just not something that I saw coming in this whole thing. Not to mention, this whole holiday and this assignment just became really, really twisted. So I would recommend this one 4 stars, definitely, because there was so much that happened in this. You're thinking that when it says, one last secret, the secret was that she went on this last assignment while she was engaged and didn't tell her fiance. But there was so much more to this last secret that, it's not something that you could have guessed. So definitely worth reading. Tell me about this one if you have read this one or listened to it. Let me know your thoughts. Until